All right, boys and girls, this is a dent repair stud welder kit from Harbor Freight. Now, I've never used one of these before, much less have I ever owned one. So I'm not here to teach you how to use it. I'm here to give you feedback from a first-time user. Is it worth the 99 bucks? Let's find out. Now, this is a kit. It comes with 2 different size studs, a couple of tips to accommodate the studs, and a slide hammer. Now, I have used the slide hammer. Back in the 90s, I was building the Sunshine Wagon. It needed repairs to some panels in the process, so I borrowed one from a guy. But that slide hammer required that you drill a hole in the metal, put a screw in it, and then use the slide hammer to pull the screw back outward to pull your dent. I assume that this kit is going to be the same concept, but instead of drilling a hole and putting a screw in it, we're going to weld a stud to the sheet metal and use that stud to pull the dent out. Now, real quick, I want to point out that I haven't even opened the box. I've never seen the tool in person. So if you're experienced and you know more about this stuff, and I say something inaccurate in this video, please feel free to call me out in the comments. All I ask is that you be respectful. I don't know what I'm doing, but then again, there's a good chance that 90% of the people that would buy this product also don't know what they're doing. So let's see if this can help you. Now, I don't know if this box was previously opened in store or whatever, but it was already in this condition, but that's what they had. Regardless, let's pop this bad boy open, find out what's in the box. All right. There we go. We got an owner's manual and safety instructions, 2mm and 3mm welding studs. Got a slide hammer that's missing the oh wait, no, that's your other tip for that. Yep. Before we jump to conclusions, well, I guess now we know why this box was previously opened. Somebody stole that off of it. I hate a thief. Absolutely hate a thief. I guess we'll be taking this one back. Son of a... All right, so I returned the last box to Harbor Freight, and I was very appreciative of the fact that they did let me swap it out, even though I was outside of my 90-day window. Now, for those of you that don't know it, Harbor Freight has always had a 90-day return policy. They just haven't always been enforcing it. Now, locally, they're starting to enforce that policy. I don't know if it's at every store or not, but I was happy that they let me swap this out under the circumstances, especially considering I was only a few days outside of 90 days, and it's not like I wanted a refund. I just wanted to swap it out for one that had all the parts. Now, let's see what's in this box. Of course, I already know what's in this box because I opened it with the shift manager in the store to make sure that everything was accounted for. And it was. Our owner's manual and instructions, and I do intend to read these before I start using it. Of course, we have our welding gun. After looking at this in the store, I realized exactly why somebody might have opened that box and stole it. That seems like it's a failure point on this slide hammer in reference to the stud pulling out. You lose that wheel, this thing's useless. So I understood why somebody stole it. But at the same time, I have to ask, is this going to be a failure point on this unit? If it is, do you sell this part independently? They do not. But she did give me an 800 number for a parts department for Harbor Freight. Yes, you heard that right. Harbor Freight has a parts department with an 800 number. Call them up. You can order replacement parts for the tools that they sell. I had no idea. All right, so the first thing that stands out to me about this stud welding unit, simply put, this is the only cord on this welder. So I don't care if you're MIG welding, TIG welding, arc welding, all of those welders require you to ground your workpiece to the welder. Ground might be the wrong word due to the fact that you got reverse polarity, forward polarity, all that good stuff. But you get my point. And this being the only wire on this tells me that this thing is probably going to be more like a overglorified heat gun. You got to figure the replacement studs have a description of bright copper finish. So I'm assuming it's some type of copper alloy, which means that it will melt faster than the metal on a body panel. But technically that's not welding. But that's all semantics. I don't care what you call it, as long as it gets the job done and does what I need it to do. All right, after reading the owner's manual, I've decided this tool is actually a welding unit. And let me explain what I'm talking about. Now that I've read the manual, I know that this ring right here is the ground. This has to be grounded just like any other welder. The tip right here is where you put your stud, your welding stud. And then you have to compress this spring-loaded tip into the metal until your grounding ring makes full contact. My only issue there is the fact that sometimes the dent that you're trying to take out, the spot you need to put the stud, I would think, might be in a location where you can't get complete contact with the ground all the way around it. I don't know if that's going to be affected or not. Now, the next thing I want to point out, it says in the owner's manual and on the tool, it's 120 volts AC, connect to a 20 amp dedicated circuit only. And it does have a heavy duty cord on it. But I believe that's a 15 amp plug, which means you can plug it into a 15 amp circuit, which might cause problems. So that might knock a few people out of the possibility of owning one of these tools if they don't have a 20 amp circuit in their garage or their workspace. I do have some 20 amp circuits. Matter of fact, most of my 20 amp circuits are wired with 30 amp wire, but they're 20 amp circuits on 20 amp breakers, making the breaker the weakest point in the circuit. So let's see what we can do with it. Ooh, another thing I want to bring to your attention is the duty cycle of the tool, which says duty cycle, tool can weld one stud every 8 minutes. Don't get in a hurry, I guess. Then again, it might take you 8 minutes to get your, what do they call it, a slide hammer. And again, it might take 8 minutes to get your dent pulled out with the slide hammer. I don't know. Stop doing that. This is the dent we're trying to pull out. If you saw my last video, I'm learning to use a hammer and dolly. We're going to do that first because that's the stopping point there. And then we're going to come over to this side and see how effective this is on this big old boy here. But first, we need to try to take that dent out right there. I've got my 10 gauge extension cord plugged into a 20 amp dedicated circuit, and we're going to use that to take care of this. But first, we've got to grind all this rust and paint off and get a good surface that we can get the ground attached to there. That ain't too bad, I don't think, but I think we're going to need more than one stud. But I'm thinking that right along in here would be the most beneficial. I don't know how well you can see that dent now, but somewhere right along in here would probably give us the most impact, and then we'll do another one if we have to. Alright, so this unit has two handles, one like a drill, one in the back so that you can put forward pressure on it. You got a button on the top to activate the welding, and on the bottom in the front you have a reset breaker. According to the owner's manual, will reset if you hold the top trigger down too long. Now the owner's manual says insert your welding stud before you plug it in. So we're going to do that. Now I don't know what's going to happen whenever I do this. I'm going to try and push as far forward and make sure that the ground is connected all the way around. And when I push the button, I'm going to close my eyes because I don't know whether this is going to spark or whatever. So here we go. All right, pushed it for about 1 second. I don't think that was enough. But let's let it cool for a second. We're also going to unplug this unit. I feel like it needed to, they were talking about a 1/4 inch of discoloration around it in the owner's manual, but let's see what we get. So there we go. Spin that around. All right, pull that backwards towards the unit. Well, put some pressure on it, I guess. I don't know. All right, there we go. Got to spin this backwards and then pull back to hold it in place. It's working pretty good. And then to release it, it says to tap it forward like that. So I put some forward pressure on here, not a lot, and then tapped it a few times and it came up. Now I feel like I need to stop pulling here because what's happening is it's pulling the spot directly around it out. I need to put another stud down here and pull from here, and then after the fact might need to do another one there. But you got to wait 8 minutes. I guess I should have set a timer on that, but we got to wait a few minutes before we do the next stud. So can't be in a hurry with this thing apparently. That last time I was sort of scared to put a lot of pressure on the dolly or the hammer as far as pulling backwards. I'm going to put a little more pressure on it this time. Go back to that one now. One right along in here, but I got to wait 5 minutes. And there's the downfall to this unit. Time consuming. I'm thinking right there would be best for the next one. It's getting there. It's just slow process, mainly because this thing needs 8 minutes between studs. But that does give me more time to study on what I'm doing and think about it. On the back side, it does discolor it to the extent that the owner's manual was talking about. Now you got to understand some of this discoloration up in here, especially this one right here, is from the ground where I didn't have a solid ground point. I'm liking the way this thing works, but I would like it to be a little more industrial, a little more heavy duty. But for $99, I really can't complain. I feel like this is pulled out well enough that we can take a slapper to it, or maybe a dolly on the back side here and take down all the protrusions. But we still got to deal with these. We got to take them off. So the better this starts looking, the more I realize that you can't get behind this with a hammer and dolly. So we're going to have to pull these little bumps or indentions here where the dent originally occurred. We're going to have to pull that out with a stud welder. I feel like this is working exactly like it's supposed to, but I will share a couple of things with you. First and foremost, my first few studs, I pulled the dent and cut the studs off. I feel like I should not have done that. I should have left all the studs, because what happens, you pull this one and you find out that this one wasn't quite as far out as you thought it was. So you might want to go back to pull this one again, or pull this one again, or whatever. You get my point. What I'm saying is, Wait to cut them off all at the same time once you're comfortable with the shape that you've got back into the metal. And I'm pretty comfortable with this right now, so I'm extremely happy with this tool. Now the next thing I'm going to say to you is I did have one time that my ground wasn't making good contact and spark jumped up and bit me in the lip. Now I can live without an upper lip, but I can't live without my eyes. So a couple inches higher, I would have had major problems. So I do recommend some safety glasses while you're doing this. You don't need a welding mask or anything like that, as far as I can tell. If you want to wear a welding mask or a grinder's mask, I don't see any problem with that, but you see what I'm saying. Overall, I am extremely happy with what we have accomplished right here. I don't think that's going to take very much body filler at all. I keep saying body filler because I know you guys have a problem with Bondo, but in my world, it don't matter what name brand it is, it's Bondo. Duraglass, Bondo, whatever. But it's going to take some body filler. But between now and then, I'm probably going to play with this some more with a hammer and dolly. Now, I was super optimistic about trying to take that dent out today as well. But a large part of it had to do with that 8 minutes between studs. So I did take a hammer to this side and try to straighten it out best I could, and I don't think it's going to happen without the stud welder, because as this come up, it just bent right here, created a new crease. So we're going to have to pull this out with a stud welder somehow, or get some more body filler, which I don't want to do. All right, so let's talk about the pros and the cons, the good and the bad, and the big question. Is it worth the money? Well, as far as the good things, the pros go, the owner's manual is very easy to understand. The tool is very easy to use. And there are replacement studs available at your local Harbor Freight. So that works out well. Now, as far as the bad things go, the big one is the 8 minutes duty cycle. 1 stud per 8 minutes. Now, that being said, there were several times that I did not wait a full 8 minutes. Tool did fine, didn't seem to overheat or have any problems, but let's be honest, you don't want to push your luck with that concept. The next issue I saw is the fact that I still believe this little wheel right here is a potential failure point. Now, assuming that those studs are made from a softer metal than this wheel is made from, that might not be as big a problem as I'm envisioning it being. But you might have to clean the wheel, the little grooves in the wheel, you might have to clean those out every now and then whenever you're using it, because the remnants of the studs might get hung up in that wheel. I don't know yet. We'll find out as I progress with this tool. The next thing that we're going to put in the cons or the negative category is the fact that it requires a 20 amp dedicated circuit. And let's be honest, that cord's not long enough to just plug it in the wall and use it. You're going to have some type of extension cord, which means it probably needs to be a 10-gauge extension cord, and not everybody's got either one of those, whether it be a 20 amp circuit or a 10-gauge cord. Now, this tool costs $99. I don't know if that's good or bad. That's up to you and your financial situation. For some people, this tool being $99 is an absolute bargain. For other people, not so much because it's out of their price range. But that's up to you. So here's the big question. Is it worth it? Well, if you're a professional body worker who's going to have to rely on this tool daily in order to make a living, you might be better off just robbing the kids' college fund. Go ahead and get something off that big truck that pulls in the parking lot every week. I'm not a professional body worker. I ain't a professional anything. I'm just a guy in the garage trying to build a mini truck. Okay, fine, 3 mini trucks. But you get my point. So for me, building mini trucks and having multiple trucks that need to have dents pulled out of them, yeah, this tool was worth every single penny, and it's going to increase in value to me, provided it holds up in the long run. We'll find out. And I'll let you guys know exactly when it fails me, if it ever does. We'll see. I hope you found this video informative or at the very least entertaining. If you can take the time, give me a thumbs up, maybe leave a comment. I love comments because, well, the algorithm loves comments. But if you made it this far in the video and you're not subscribed, please watch a few more of my videos and see if it's something that is worth subscribing to. Now, if you're one of the 6 people that follow this channel on a regular basis, you know that a while back I said something to the effect of, when I buy something with my $107 YouTube money, I'd let you know what it was, and this is what it was. It was $107, so it worked out sort of perfect. Thanks. Peace, love, and mini trucks.